Yeah, hello. My name is Hellmut Monz. I'm the philosophy doctor with the mission of freeing philosophy. I'm also serving as senior lecturer and associate program manager at the School of Communication and Design at RMIT University Vietnam. And most importantly, I am also the president of Key Philosophy. And if you want to know more about me and or my work, visit www.keyphilosophy.com.
You are a philosopher. So is it so there's one thing which is very interesting, especially for a philosopher when it comes to religion or spirituality, is called non-duality. It's like a thing that got kind of it has kind of a hype. And but I found out something very interesting listening to your interviews and explanation about it, which is well, I thought it came from the East, but then we have like these philosophers in the Greek antique. They were talking about the same thing, I guess.
Yeah, as a philosopher, I have a lot of questions, so I just want to go into that, and then I want to ask you a couple of questions about what you understand about spirituality to go into that. But picking up on what you just said with non-duality, so I like the very nice summary of non-duality, meaning literally not two, implicating that all is one. Is a little bit complicated what the ramification of that is. But we have that. Yes, we usually assume this is a part of Eastern religion, Eastern mysticism. But if you dive deep down into Western philosophy, but you have to dive down very deep to find that. And you need to dive so deep that you find the origin of philosophy in the West. Okay. Then you can also find contemplation of the universe that talks about that this is one in some sense. So for example, I just looked it up, I think a week ago, and I was very happy finding that there was a philosopher called Anaximander. He is on record to we have the oldest quote in prose in philosophy from him. Yeah, and only kind of one sentence survived of what he said. But very beautifully, the first sentence goes like, the origin of all beings is to apeiron, and to apeiron can be translated often as boundlessness. But if you want to be very literally, it means infinity. It is that, it is the one which has no boundary, which has no limit. And so, I mean, yeah, you have it there on face value at the origin of Western philosophy.
But the Western philosophy is a little bit younger, I guess, than the Vedas, Upanishads, I guess.
And it depends how you start calculating, what kind of writing you start counting. I like to go back into around 500 BC. Okay, so half a century before the birth of Christ is when our calculation starts beginning. And very interestingly, we have here a kind of symmetry between the East and the West. In the East, around that time, we had the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who is called the Awakened One, the Enlightened One. And the West, at the same time, we had Heraclitus, who was called the Dark One, who wrote so obscure. So a very nice symmetry between the waking, the light, and the dark. We also have at the same time, around the same time, Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching, East. But we also have at the same time Parmenides in the West, which is together with Heraclitus the kind of the founder of philosophy in the West, if you strictly speaking that philosophy is a Greek word. And Parmenides was called the son of Apollo. Apollo was the god of the sun. Again, enlightenment, light implications here. So we have a nice symmetry around 500 BC, where we can say kind of that the East and the West agrees in some sense.
May I ask, like philosophy sounds like something that you study with your mind, and you train your mind, and you control your mind, and you understand. And spirituality and philosophy, is that a contradiction? Because there's not, sometimes in spirituality is perceived it doesn't have so much logic.
I mean, as a philosopher, I have to say that. I have to say that philosophy is the fundamental science, if you will. You know, all sciences and all serious discussions about anything comes out of philosophy. So I have to say that. I can't say no to that, and I need to jump at that. So, and then, for example, if we talk about spirituality, what is the philosophy of spirituality? You know, and then we are back at philosophy. So it's kind of, philosophy has to juggle. And you said a beautiful word, logic. It comes from the first kind of written account where there was a philosopher who was very serious about that word. And where it comes from the word logos, was Heraclitus. So Heraclitus wrote about the logos and positioned it as something kind of super, super important. And a little bit later, the Bible also famously starts with the logos. At the beginning was the word, and the Bible being written in ancient Greek shares the same word for word, which is logos. So yes, there's a tension there between the mind, reason, and unreason, you could say, in a way. But it is to be looked at very closely, because yes, we want to make sense of things. As a philosopher, you really want to get to the bottom of it, so to speak. And you try to avoid being carried away by confusion, deception, hallucination, right? And so as a philosopher now, and so I'm a philosopher, I look at philosophy, and I'm not really into the field of spirituality, because this is my impression from the distance, you know, that you maybe hear when people talk about in spirituality about spirits, things can be very ethereal, speculative. There's a lot of, it makes you question where's the boundary between reality and fantasy, you know, and it blurs it a little bit, which is beautifully interesting philosophy, because if we in philosophy study anything, then we study these boundaries. We study trying to understand what separates truth from what just appears to be true. And maybe this is then the invitation to look deeper than just how things appear at the surface, and try to reach into the depth, so to speak.
I guess philosophers at a certain point, they had to leave their security. They had to invent something. They had to create hypotheses. I think they have to, they had to go over the boundaries in a little bit, and then later find words to describe what they found.
I mean, we can also extend the critique to philosophy. If you look at the history of philosophy, there's also a lot of speculation about drifting off in the heavenly clouds of the ideal. You can see this in Plato, where it's pronounced an ascension, you know, literally trying to get up in the heavens, where things become very ethereal. And that's one of the critiques of philosophy, that it becomes so abstract, so cloudy, and so up in the heads that it loses touch with the ground. And so you can also say that about philosophy, certain streams, or how philosophy is practiced today. It seems to have a reputation that it is very abstract, and it's hard to see how that relates to life. Now I'd like to ask you, with you and your viewers, when you talk about spirituality, what is it that you mean by that? What kind of words are being talked about when you talk about that?
I guess a lot of my viewers, I think, they are active with different kinds of religions. A lot of them are Christians. Some people also are active in the interfaith community. So even if they're not Christians, they're Muslim, they are Zoroastrian, they have other religions like Sikhism or whatever. There's like 4,000 religions. So these are like gatherings of people. They come together. They agree about certain things. So they have their language. They have their point of view. And they teach it and they defend it. And sometimes they might be interested to enter into a dialogue between different religions. And a lot of times maybe to find out, wow, we have stuff in common. That's not, we always saw this as a religion as they are wrong. I don't know what they're doing. This is not the way. You have to come to my religion. I tell you how it is. But then eventually, if you start a dialogue, you see a lot of stuff in common. And that's interesting, I guess. And it's a form of understanding the underlying truth about stuff. But then we use language, you know, we have the logic, we have logos, and sometimes it's like Lego. And Lego has a certain amount of pieces, and you can start building stuff, and maybe you can do workarounds, and then you create something. But it's not perfect. You don't have all the tiles, you don't have, there's certain limitations, and language has that as well. So when we talk with each other, the first thing that has to be overcome in a way is the barrier of language, because maybe a Muslim talks about a chair and a table, and then we have a Christian who talks about a chair and a table, and it depends what century we are talking. We don't understand each other because we have a complete different perception of what is talked about.
Yeah, very nice. You pointed something else. Yeah, there is something tricky about language. And you said Lego. Lego comes from, I think it's Danish, and I think something about play. It's about playing. And also the plural of logos is logoi, and that means to tell stories, lying, you know. So your language, right? Are you, what are your intention? How it can be very slippery. We share also different languages. We talk about the same thing, yet we totally use different sounds to say the same thing. But I like what you said about, different religions, they agree about certain things, they may disagree about other things, and maybe let's look at that, what might be that is common, that connects, what may seem to disagree, what is maybe that which is a common agreement between the things that seem to disagree. So this is a very nice topic to look at.
There's a lot of interface activities. One very good interface activity is like you come together and eat. Still then you see the differences, but you might understand some people eat with their hands, other people have to use tools, and the tools, they differ, you know, some use sticks, others need a fork. So who eats first, who eats, there's so much to learn from each other, and we should be open, of course. We should interchange information because it adds to the richness of our perceptions. When we learn other languages, we learn also from other worlds. Those are existent all the time, but we're not able to see it because we don't have words for it. It's also kind of a filter. A lot of what happens in our mind is filtering reality because we are actually not able to ultimately, we are not able to perceive reality. I met some people online. They seem to have grasped something. I mean, you had also, I guess, an interview with Alexis, and it's kind of, it's just wonderful to be exposed to what he's talking about, although you're left with nothing.
It's for me the best kind of interviews. Talking with no one about nothing. That's I think that's at least plays into my sense of humor. I enjoyed it very much.
Yes, you are. Just want to let people know that you are very funny. I love your videos.
Yes.
They're really entertaining. So don't miss out on that one. Please go to his website and check it out.
Very
Or
good.
YouTube.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Okay. Okay. So maybe this is a very good. I'd like to follow up as a definition with non-duality. With duality, for me, duality is so abstract. Duality, or we call it dualism. I like using a different word and with the same etymology, and that is dueling. You know, like a duel. In my head, it's like, I don't know, like a couple of centuries ago in French, someone was insulted. They have a duel and they're to the death, where they shoot each other with a pistol. You know, so that captures a very nice meaning of this. If you think about two, that with those two, the essential relationship is one of disagreement, yeah, of facing each other, of being in juxtaposition, with opposing each other, being against each other. That's for me the lesson when we contemplate duality or dualism. Yeah, we have left and right, and left has to be total the opposite of right to define right, and vice versa. Black and white, positive, negative, up and down, and so on. And then if we contemplate non-duality, we contemplate that which negates this disagreement, this dueling. Yeah, and that for me, it's just a simple way of talking about agreement. But in the moment we go into there, then, and that's when the mind comes in, and that's when our mortal logic plays a trick on us, because we bounce back into this play of opposites. Because when I start talking about agreement, then we suddenly have agreement and disagreement. But we're talking about non-disagreement. So there is agreement and disagreement, and we say, no, they agree. There is no disagreement, not even between agreement and disagreement. But the mind likes to do that. It always keeps us in that loop, so to speak. So in philosophy, yes, I think you're right. It's a little bit mind heavy. That it's about some people say philosophy is thinking about thinking. I would say part of thinking is also the ability to stop thinking, to stop the thoughts. And when you observe how thoughts play out, they usually do this with you. They have this black and white, this yin and yang, what they do with you. And your brain is literally split in half. You have the left and the right side, and they keep dragging you into this fight, this battle, this war between the sides. Yeah, and if we say there's a message, if we say spirituality or contemplation of God, it's usually not a message of, this is keep disagreeing, keep fighting, keep taking sides, but it's usually a message of the opposite of, please just get along, please agree, please make peace, so to speak. But if you go hardcore into that, it means that the disagreement between peace and war, there would be no disagreement if we then contemplate the non-disagreeingness of the universe, so to speak.
There's something people call devotion. And like when maybe people those favor logic and they admire logic and they pray to logic, please give me a reason, explain to me. They reject this totally. They say, come on, stop with that stuff, devotion. But when you look at the people from Advaita Vedanta or non-duality, sometimes they also practice devotion. What's your take on that?
Devotion, you mean like a form of worship, a form of following, a form of submission?
Yes, I mean like a person's, they trust there is a God even if you call it the one.
Yes.
And so when I call his name, when I bow myself, when I stop trying to do things and I just obey this powerful earth creating energy and give up about the self and give all the power to this divine source that's created us, then I might be welcome over there. And finally, when I go back into spirit, I reunite with the light.
Yeah, very good. I don't say anything against that, but maybe this is a very good point of difference with philosophy. Because if philosophy kind of starts when you stop with blind trust, so to speak. Yeah, like there's a definition of philosophy that is philosophy comes from two words, philia and sophia. So we have love and wisdom, and usually this is translated that philosophy is the love for wisdom. And in this take, this is kind of a needy love. This is a desire, a need, a want, a seeking.
Could we have a wisdom of love?
The wisdom of love. That's actually what I want to come through. So I would say the bottom line is you need to realize that actually the proper philosophy is the wisdom of love. Bingo.
Wow. I'm joining you on this one.
You're good on that one. But let's go back to this of not knowing this or ignoring this for a moment. It is the oldest definition I came across of somebody who mentions philosophy was Pythagoras of Samos, who's the famous triangle philosopher who came up with how to calculate the triangles. He said a philosopher is a hunter of truth. Yeah, so philosophy as truth hunting. So you are a philosopher if you seek the truth. Yeah, and you want to hunt it down and catch it. And that is when you're kind of done with blind faith and wants to know. It's what other people say, and I follow what other people say. No, I want to have a direct experience, a direct contact. It's not for me. It's not enough to have mediators in between who tell me or read about it. No, I want to have a direct experience of the truth, first person. Now here's the warning. If in the moment we go truth hunting, we need to be very careful that it's not backfiring, because it's not that the hunter is becoming the hunted. Yeah, when we are chasing the truth, is then suddenly truth that it's haunting us, chasing us. And there is in the game of hunting a lot of trickery and deception and camouflage and trapping and tricks involved, and that is maybe not appropriate to chase down the truth, because she may not be impressed by our capability and skills in tricking and deceiving. She may only honor honesty, because the truth is the truth and not belief.
Yeah, sometimes I hear the stories of people those found some truth, yes, that actually they had their breakthrough moment when they gave up on the search. When they just said, okay, I'm done with this all bullshit, I'm finished. And then eventually, boom, they call it wake up. I don't know. Did you hear that too?
When you look for the truth, what is it how would you be able to identify the truth? What are the characteristics of the truth? How to be sure this is the truth? Where to go to find it? Can you find it? And there's a lovely word in ancient Greek. It's called aletheia, and that is the word for truth. And it literally means the unhidden. So it means the truth it's not hidden. So, and if that is the case, you could not find it, because you can only find what hides. You need to lose it first, then you can go around and find it. I can only play hide and seek if others play with hide from me, and then I can find it. But if they're not hiding from me, I will not be able to find it. So it would be impossible to find the truth if it really is the unhidden. So then also for the search, nothing you do could help you finding it, because it just would be absolutely impossible to find that which doesn't cover up, does not go away, doesn't hide, doesn't there's no pockets for it to be behind. There's no camouflage, no veil, no cover up that could hide it at all. So that would make it impossible for you to find.
You're taking out the wind of the sail of so many. They insist there must be something hidden. You had a very nice video about the secret. And you recommended to use a shift, and I looked it up on my keyboard. It really exists, but I'm insisting it exists, and maybe here we call it shift. If you talk to a Vietnamese person, it uses a different word. And but still, I mean, I see sometimes a lot of maybe younger people, they struggle because they see, oh my God, I'm so limited. I don't know anything. I mean, boy, I should have read all these books, but I did not. And I don't plan to read these books because I'm working on my first Ferrari and I don't have time for that stuff, So they give up already. They say, no, spirituality or philosophy, all that stuff. I mean, why? It's a waste of time. I have to get busy. I need a wife. I need a car. I need a house. I don't have time for this.
And that's totally valid.
Okay.
But here's the nice trick here. So only because it's impossible to find doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
It's open for everyone to see. No, Tatwamasi, or as they say, this is it.
You're that, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else. So, are we ready to look, or maybe stop looking so we see? But then if we, so it's a very slippery slope when we start using philosophy or devotion. We need both, I guess, no? Because in devotion also they say, like if you ask Buddhists or something, okay, just don't believe anything, you have to trust, okay? You have to trust there is a God or something, so get busy, do some worship or whatever, but you have to check. You have to learn. So...
Yeah, I'm all for it. I also would say it's very good to do complementary practice. So if you, for example, do something that's very contemplative, you think about, for example, a certain in Rinzai Zen traditions, you work with koans, which are like very intense for the mind to think through those riddles that are impossible to solve. I also would say maybe it's also a good idea to do something that is completely different to that kind of practice. For example, using extreme effort, bodily effort. I liked to the question about devotion versus knowing. Have you seen the interview with Carl Gustav Jung? There's a very famous interview with him towards he was visited in Switzerland, and he got this answer. He got this question: do you believe in God?
Oh, I will look it up.
Yes,
if it's on YouTube. Then
I think you just Google it.
I should put the link in the description as well.
Yes,
it's very interesting.
And you see him on camera reacting to that, and he's like surprised by the question. He just thinks about it, and he's like, no. I don't need to believe. I know. And that is a very, very beautiful. That's a very beautiful point to make. Yeah, because the faith, there are certain times in your life that is very important. But then also the problem is that it may be misused. Blind faith. I remember as a child, when God or religion was explained to me, I felt very often it's kind of a trick to test how easily I'm satisfied with answers, but I just could not, for example, God is omnipresent, all powerful, all present, and all knowing, and all present always hooked me. Like, what do you mean all present? He's like there and there, like he keeps running around, like the whole universe needs to run around, like it's so stressful. Like, who would want to be God if you just keep running around like that quickly and so on, And I kept asking about how you be all present, like how does it work, and I was never satisfied with the answers, and I was like, I think there's something fishy there, and it's just, it kind of, if it's all faith, it's just it just allows room to squeeze in things and subvert and push us into a direction where we don't want to go, and where it's very unwise and not a good idea to go at all.
Yes, sometimes it seems like, oh, I know. And actually, I was just deceived, Someone told me, no, this color red is blue. And then I know it. And why don't everyone see that this red color is blue? These stupid people, they should learn from me about that. And I maybe even start to defend something because I'm holding on to this idea. I know something and I start to defend it, I start learn boxing. Yeah, but then that's the tricky part, I guess, because supposedly some people, they kind of really wake up into enlightenment or whatever you want to call it, and then they really know, and they insist on that they had this experience of knowing, and we have to trust that they are saying the truth. But we are not sure about it.
Yeah, I would be very careful to trust that because it needs to come with proof. Okay, and that's philosophy. That is, how do you know that you know and not believe that you know? It goes back to that, And if we there's a story I like to tell, and it's very old in philosophy. It's called Plato's Cave. Yeah, maybe you heard about that, and it's exactly about this, because it's a story about enlightenment. To be more precise, it's a story about fake enlightenment. Yeah, so let me go into the story. Briefly, it is in a cave, a prison, and there were people imprisoned in the cave, but their imprisonment was not known to themselves. So they were locked up in chains, looking at a wall. It's a little bit like cinema. There's a projection light from behind projected on a wall, and they basically watch a movie, and they believe the movie on the wall, the shadow play, is real. And they themselves, they don't know that they are just watching a shadow play. They don't know that they are in chains sitting there, because they were born into this prison. So that this is a prison is invisible to them. No, it happens so this is a story that Socrates tells, or to be more precise, Plato lets Socrates tell this story. Now, according to this story, then Socrates says that there was one person who was freed, and they were taken and dragged up out of the cave. So it's from below up out. So it's a journey from the underworld, hell, so to speak, up towards being exposed to the heavenly sun. And then you see, first time in your life, the sun. And it's quite clearing. It's like very intense, painful light. And you think, finally, this is enlightenment. You have been sitting in a dark room down there, just looking at shadows, right? Projected from fire, with fake light, so to speak in this case. And then you go up and things look more real. Things are three-dimensional. You see how light casts shadows. You see reflection and so on. And in this story, Socrates contemplates what would happen if this person goes down. And of course, the story is the person goes down and talks, you were all life, you were trapped in a dream, in illusion. But I saw the light, I'm enlightened, and I know now for sure what is real and what not. Okay? And then how would the other prisoners react? Of course, they would not believe it. How could they believe? Because they didn't experience themselves. And now I need to stress this. How, and Socrates doesn't go into that, but I, as a philosopher, have an obligation to point this out. How did this person, this prisoner, got released? A jailer dragged them out. What's the motivation for that? Right? What is the motivation to have them all trapped in this magic show their entire life? Yeah? And maybe the only answer I can say is like have a really, really bad sense for entertainment. Like being is just totally feeling all powerful because you can inflict such harm. Really rob anyone a sense of what freedom means. And so maybe it could be that that's still part of the trick. When they wake up, when they get out of the cave and then see the sun, maybe this is just also part of the illusion. Right? Or have you seen the Truman Show?
Yes, I saw it. And I mean, of course, they can go out of the prison, but maybe it's still a prison. Maybe there's a wall around the market.
It's just a better prison. It's just more convincing. Yeah. Like with Truman at the end, also ascension, walks up the stairs, opens the door, walks out. We think he walks into reality. But what if it's just really a bigger studio? And now he thinks he's really a true man. Right?
Well, in Advaita Vedanta, they talk about this. Like, they also insist, yes, there's heaven. And a lot of people, especially in Christianity, they think, I will go to heaven. But then in Advaita Vedanta, they say, there's heaven, and there's actually different heavens. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4. You have the seventh heaven, but still... Even going to the seventh heaven, you're not out of the wheel of reincarnation, or you're not there. So interesting point. We don't know.
So to the extent where you ask yourself, okay, you woke up. What if you woke up to another dream? So any and every awakening maybe is still part of. It's just another sleeping. Any sort of enlightenment, you're just being blinded by another light. And it brings us back to the question at the beginning. How do you know that something is really true, or that you're not falling for another deception? Maybe it's a better deception. Maybe it's a better trick. Just because it's a little bit more true doesn't mean it's actually really true. So how do you know? How can you tell them apart? What is real and what pretends to be real?
And also, everyone who experiences that should be very careful, because I don't know if it's true. Like in this story, I heard the story once that like actually when he started telling the other ones in chains, you can be free, go outside, it's really nice and stuff. The next thing they did is like kill him.
Yeah, very nasty, because that's the least thing you want to know. You don't want. From someone arrogant being told they know the truth and you don't know the truth.
I heard also from a lot of sages, they kind of hide. Once they kind of understand something, or they freed themselves from the illusion of ignorance, the illusion of this world, how it is perceived, out of this ignorant state into a kind of a knowing, seeing the open truth in front of them, they shut up about it and they hide in society somewhere. They don't want to start the fight, because everyone will be very angry about them disturbing their peace, because we already think we know something, and then someone comes and says, no. You think you have a body, but you don't.
Yeah, at the beginning, we talked about Anaximander, who talked about that the origin of all beings is boundlessness. So it's that without a boundary. So any government on planet Earth would not want you to say that. Because a government is that which has a boundary. and now suddenly you say, now our borders are not real, they would not be happy with you saying that. So that means even if it would be true, and you would see that, you would need to be very carefully.
This society defends morality, but the society also want to define morality. My morality is the one to follow, and these are the rules, and you behave better, you know. And then you see those who are actually very successful sometimes. What did they do? Well, they didn't. They did not keep in the limits. They were thinking outside of the box. They did maybe even stuff that was illegal, and later defined their illegal behavior as legal. And boom, success. They made a step forward. But of course, yeah, the societies, the governments and stuff, they insist we need that, because otherwise, wow, anarchy, mayhem.
You can think about success. You can think about how would you define success. And usually we say it means an increase in boundaries. It means an increase of some sort. You know, the number of your bank account is a little bit higher. Your apartment is a little bit bigger. Your garden is a little bit bigger. You know, your miles which you can buy, your plane tickets have been increased. You know, your discount vouchers are more in quantity. So it's always a little bit more. But then when you arrive to the next border, you're still looking for the next increase. So it's with these levels. If you level up, you're not happy there and you want to have the next level and level and level and level.
It's like endless, and it's like human nature. And we can't stop doing that, right? It's ingrained in our behavior somehow, I feel. And so I wonder, what about all this? People are living now. We have like a situation here. We have a lot of things going on this planet. And I see a lot of young people, they actually insist that they have mental problems. Beside the growing problem, like find their place in society, a lot of them, they really struggle, you know, because they are ingest a lot of information, and it's out of control. We're run around with a mobile phone, and we are just continually bombarded with information. And so when we want to discern what is really important and what is not, maybe we look for someone to tell us, to show us the way. Then we can have a religion, we can have like a sage, we can have like a guru, a master or something. Is that important? How is it for a philosopher? Do you have your favorite professor? How do you find a professor you can really trust?
There is no one. So you can't. So this is a philosopher. The philosopher wants to know the truth, direct experience, with no mediation, in a way that it means to not have the mentor. So whatever you look for, whatever guidance you get, supervision, pointers you get, these are always, how can I myself have a direct experience with the universe, without anything in between, without a medium, without mediation, without translation, without filter in between. Yeah, so it's that. And in a way, this is not, yes, we like that, because the story of science is a very sad story, or what belief science is. A scientist, the job of a scientist is literally to know science. Sentia is about knowledge. But if you look into what science actually knows, it's not a lot. Yeah, because if you look into that and what can they actually say with certainty, not we can't find anything, but they can actually say with certainty. They only can say things with probability. So the suggestion they have for us is that we are small fragments. We are racing with each other around a rock, a ball that rotates around itself, that spirals, rotates around a sun that is eventually is consuming itself and will actually burn us to death. That is spiraling in a galaxy or on a black hole, in a vacuum of nothing, of black expanding nothingness, waiting for the heat death of the universe. So this is a very threatening, bleak conception of what we are and what this is. And of course, it freaks me out. And then I want to consume, feeling so little and insignificant. Of course, I go on my phone and just want to be stimulated. I just want to eat and consume and hoard and need the things to kind of satisfy this black hole that we all live in. It's a very bleak conception of existence. And it's the very definition of this is insanity, because we're just rotating ourselves, rotating around, and for what reason, we don't know why exactly.
So people, don't be discouraged, if you have kind of mental problems or you don't know or you feel insignificant or unworthy, just rewind the past 2 minutes and listen again. There's even the scientists, they have similar problems. You reach a point of knowledge and there you are. And then maybe 50 years later, they find out this was total bullshit, not true.
Yeah, so that knowledge doesn't qualify as knowledge. If you go deep into that qualifies as belief. Luckily.
Yeah, but sometimes people find truth. They find proof for beliefs they
Apparent
support,
proof.
right? Apparent
No
proof.
solid. They don't have any solid evidence because the things they find, they run through the fingers, literally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So much disappointment. How long did it take you to find any kind of truth?
So again, it's, to be strict, you can't find it.
Okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't hide.
Thank you. We're coming back to that one. I forgot about it.
Yeah, it's the another name for, you can translate the truth as the unhidden, but also as the unforgettable. So forgetting is also what you forget drifts away, and truth can't do that. You cannot be undone, cannot be pushed away, cannot be pushed in the past, cannot be pushed away in space or in time. Just you can't do it. You can't be done.
Let's have a quick detour and talk about the new discovery of a modern type of fire. We have artificial intelligence. So if we forgot something, we just ask artificial intelligence. What's your take on that one? What's happening now?
Yeah.
I mean, students, they love it, to get their homework done. It's kind of, wow. It's like snapping with a finger and you're done, I have to write an essay. Let me see, where can I find, let's Google where to find the right prompt, and then I'm done with the homework. I don't even have to read it. What's happening?
Yeah, for me, this is super funny. For me, this is, it goes back, it feeds into my field. I can say philosophy is now more important than ever, because with we entering the age of artificial intelligence, right? What's at stake is exactly to understand what is real and what is artificial. Deep fakes, faking authorship, knowing where the large language model starts hallucinating or whatnot, which resources are made up and references. So, and it's beautiful. I like, sometimes I go into ChatGPT and ask philosophy, go in there and see what I can get out of it. And that's exactly the weakness. So there is, I think Howard Gardner, if I remember this correctly, he come up with a model of the multiple intelligences. So there's different kinds of intelligence. He has like 8 of them. And later he found a secret 9th one. which he's not sure where to put. And it's called existential intelligence. And for him, this kind of intelligence is the intelligence religious leaders and philosophers need to ask the deep question, what is real, what is good, what is God, what matters. So this is, and is a combination with different intelligences, whatnot, but there's a really important element to be able to really reach deep into a question and heave the treasure that's hidden at the bottom of it all. And that's beautifully exactly the kind of intelligence that even with the best, and I don't see any indication that artificial intelligence can overcome this, can compete with existential intelligence, or of course, how I need to say it, philosophical intelligence. The ground of being, the meaning of being, what is real and what is true and what just not pretends to be true, is just out of scope for artificial intelligence, because it's precisely the simulation of truth. It simulates, it pretends to be intelligent, and it's extremely. It does it extremely well. It's extremely great in tricking and deceiving and in simulation. And in appearances, it's extremely smart and very intelligent. It's very nice, and there's a lot of application for that. But yet, if it comes about the philosophical questions, it can't be done, because you cannot cheat your way to the truth.
When I ask these artificial intelligence some questions sometimes, they react like my mother, when I had to play a tune for Christmas, and it was out of tune, it was not very well executed, but my mother said, "Oh, you are such a beautiful musician, you're doing really good." So, and AI is similar to this. I asked last week, I asked it, so with this ceasefire, is it true or is it bullshit? And it says, well, yeah, I guess it's bullshit. And Biden is still president. So this new president couldn't have said that anyway. So it reacts. I ask into the woods, and what comes back is actually some nice answer which satisfies my expectation.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's what it can do. It can make things smooth. It makes us feel good. It can do work for us. But in the moment the rubber meets the road, in the moment we want to go a little bit deeper, where it also can happen that it becomes a little bit more uncomfortable, because we also need to question our assumptions, our beliefs, and our mistakes and biases.
People should understand the value of being human. It's still worth something, So don't give up. I mean, don't commit suicide right away, because artificial intelligence is so much sharper than you are. But we can use it a little bit, like for learning or understanding stuff. I mean, we can't not have it. But a lot of young people, they use it because it's just convenient and it helps them to solve the immediate problem, but they maybe do not ever understand what could happen to us with it, because we have artificial intelligence, then we have general artificial intelligence, and then we have super intelligence, and then we are dead or not. We don't know.
I recommend, for your general mental health, or your as a human being, their philosophy is kind of a part of that. We are Homo sapiens. That means literally the species that we are wise. That's supposed to be our job here on planet Earth. So engage in philosophy, ask questions. You can ask questions about everything and also about nothing. Don't just buy into authority, regardless where it comes from. Just because someone else says it's true doesn't mean it's actually true. This does not only go for authority figures, but it also especially goes with artificial intelligence. So please not give up on your own intelligence. Very important.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's nice. And would you find some final words? What's happening when we die?
Yeah, for death, we would need to be born.
A lot of people, they insist they are born.
Do you remember? Do you remember being born?
No, I do not. Some people, they tell stories about it. When I was in the womb of my mother, and then I perceived this and the other, and I talked to the spirits. There must be some stories out there. I'm quite sure someone would insist on that. I mean, I heard from you that you remembered something when you were 2 years old. Come on. How's that possible? I can't do that.
Yes, that's a story actually how I think I discovered philosophy for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit hard to believe because I ask anyone, they can't remember that. Yes, maybe, yeah, sometimes as people get older. Well, for me, it's very difficult. I can't even remember what I did yesterday.
It has actually to do with death. So it was around when I was 2 years old, so like a toddler. And my mother told me to wake up my father. So we lived in a house. I had to crawl up. I remember like with all fours crawling up the stairs to go to the bedroom. My father was a taxi driver, so he was like often out at night. And I think it was like a weekend, it's Saturday, Sunday, noon, and lunch was ready. And my mother told me to get my father. And so I crawled into the bedroom and I tried to wake him up. I tried to push this big lump of flesh. Tried to scream, but he just, like snoring, like this big German guy, just snoring, and I just was defeated. Impossible. And I just looked at him. How could adults, how could they just sleep all day? I loved waking up, playing. I couldn't wait waking up and playing with my toys, and then this thing just sleeps all day, and it's impossible for the waking up. And I just stared at him very closely, and he had this big black mustache. Much more thicker and bigger than I have. And then I saw a fly landing on his mustache. And I was super shocked just by looking at the fly, by seeing that. I was like frozen. I look at the fly, and do you know from the cartoons, so flies usually, they twist their legs in this weird way. So Stubenfliegen.
Okay, yeah, I should know that, but I don't.
So it's a common kitchen fly, and I remembered it from cartoons. There is sometimes a shady character, like Tom from Tom and Jerry, and they would like rub their hands as if they were up to no good.
Right. Yes. Now
like
I get it. Okay.
And I felt like the fly was doing that to me, just staring at me with this non-eyes, with these thousands of eyes, and doing this to me. And I was just like, what's going on? And then, zip, and the fly disappeared in the nose of my father, and I was like, what's happening now? And my father was just,
oh my God.
And he kept sleeping as if nothing had happened. Yeah, he didn't wake up. He just make a big snore, and then and I was just so shocked, just what I just witnessed, and also that I'm the only one, and I did not have the language to communicate, like what. And I thought about the family of the fly. I thought it's like the father and the wife and the children at home, and the father flew to work, but he's not coming back. Why is he not coming back? And they don't know. They will ask the whole life why he's not coming back. But I know. Committed suicide by flying into the nose of my father.
and I was killed.
Yeah, it killed itself by disappearing into the skull of my father. And I was like so thinking about this and spiraling, and it was so clear at that moment that not only is everything that is born must die, but also that everything is flying into a black hole, like this fly, disappearing into a black hole, quite literally.
Yeah.
It made me question why. As if, why do I exist? Or why am I? So as a kid, the question was, warum?
Yes.
And it was like as if you say like a magic spell. It's like a magic word. You say why, and suddenly there was some weird portal, as if I conjured a portal, and it's hard to describe what it was. As if the universe zooms in and zooming out at the same time, and then plop.
Yes, that's I guess for many people. I love to talk about death because it brings people to the edge. Like, okay, so you want to live, you don't want to be dead. So then, what are you? Who are you? Why are you? Why are you living? Why should you? But you decided you want to live, so maybe you want to know. And that's where a lot of people maybe start asking questions for themselves, which could be a positive thing. Don't you think so? It's like, would you recommend philosophy?
So it has to do with curiosity, right? So if you are, as a child, every child says why, I was not an exception here. And that is the path of a philosopher, to ask the question of why and to want to have an answer of the question of why is called the question of questions. Why do you exist? And
Yes.
So that's the attitude is important. So you need to ask the question, and the issue is if you rush to an answer. And the important is to put weight into the question and keep asking the question, to question with a burning intensity, and to not be satisfied with the apparent answers, because the answers may just be an apparent answer. It may be a joke answer, and you say yes. In school, we're trained to just nod when the teacher says, and you are not often very liked as a student to keep asking why. But your job description as a philosopher is to keep asking with an intensity.
So, people, please keep doing that. And thank you so much for your time and all the information you need to go further on this path. Just have a look into the description. You'll find some links, and also, I guess, how to connect with Hellmut Monz.
Hellmut, bingo, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Hans.
So be careful, next time you drive into philosophy, wear a helmet. At least you have
Safety
a little
purposes.
bit of a little bit of light into the darkness. And I thank you so much, and hope
Thank you, Hans. I enjoyed this discussion very much. There were some very good, important points there.
Thank you.